Welcome back to another episode of Spiritual Teachers Podcast. With me today is my dear friend Tracy Nova. Tracy is an energy healer and teacher, and an integrator of light and dark, as well as a shadow worker and a psychic. It's such an honor to have you on today, Tracy. Welcome on.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on here.
Yeah, I'm super stoked. We got some really awesome topics to talk about. We'll start with Tracy's awakening journey. We'll talk about her gifts. And then, of course, we're going to touch on some paranormal activity stories. So we'll see where it goes from there. I'm really excited. I'd love to invite you to kind of share how everything started for you with the awakening.
Well, okay, so I would like to start when I was a little girl, and this is the time that I first remembered. I was about 5 or 6 years old, and this was, I was living in Florida then, and I started having these really crazy dreams, like apocalyptic, end of the world, you know, revelation, is it revolutions?
Revelations, yeah.
Revelations, you know, everything was like playing out in my dreams. And I would wake up in the middle of the night. I would go to my parents' room. My mom would she would console me, and then she would just pass out. And then I would just, you know, lay there like this, like looking up around. And then I would see like these glowing figures like coming at me. And I'm like, I don't know what to make of this. You know, I'm 5, 6 years old. Mm-hmm. I don't even know what to make of my dreams either.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna see this as angels.
Yeah.
Know? They're just protecting me. They're guiding me. You know, and I just kept it at that.
So did they ever materialize with wings or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So they had the wings, and I've also thought of fairies as I got older. Mm-hmm. But when I was that little, I didn't know about fairies. Mm-hmm. So I just said angels. Growing up, my parents were Catholic, so that's all I knew. Mm-hmm. You know, like angels and all of those things that were in the Bible and what they taught us in church. Mm-hmm. But now that I look back on it, they did have more of like fairy type wings.
Okay.
So that's very interesting.
Okay. Was there like were they translucent? Were the colors kind of like blending like a rainbow?
They were like this greenish, glowish color.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they would come in like groups?
No.
Okay.
Not in groups. There would be like one or there would be two of them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
So then now it makes me wonder, because you know how there are these different realms, right? If they are my fairy guardians.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, from what realm are they from? The lower realms, probably?
From my shamanic teacher, he took me into a journey to find my guardians and my guides. And when we would go to the underworld, that was more like to find my power animals. And then for the upper world was where I actually interacted with my main guardian, which was like guide guardian, which was fairy-like. Mm. And I had to go into like this big flying, you remember The Land Before Time?
Yes.
I went into like a mouth of a creature like that. And then in the belly was this being that was like a mantis fairy. So she was like white with like red tips on the wings, right. But she had like that like mantis like features.
Yes. But
definitely fairy energy. So
that is fascinating, because there are mantis extraterrestrial beings.
Yeah.
I forgot the exact name of them.
Yeah, I don't remember learning their name, but I know that with some of the stuff on Gaia, the platform that has like all kinds of really conscious shows, there was a show called Cosmic Disclosure, and Emery Smith talked about how in the military industrial complex underground, he was working with the mantis beings and they were kind of one of the main advanced beings that they were working with.
Yeah, they're like up there with the the feline humanoids and the Lyrians and Lyrans and stuff like that.
Yeah. So yeah, that's super interesting. For me, I've had like an orb appear, and then from that orb was like my guardian angel came out.
Yeah.
And it was like translucent and different colors, kind of radiating through, like moving. And then it was like a flower of life pattern going through the light body of this being. So yeah, I'm super curious. So how often would they come, and did they ever like telepathically communicate?
It would just be through dreams.
Okay.
Or like after I had those crazy dreams.
Okay.
Yeah, and then as I got older, they would just randomly come.
Okay. And they felt benevolent, like they felt like they were here to help you.
Yeah, they never caused any harm, no mischief, not even any mischief either.
Okay, because I've interacted with some fairy beings in like the woods,
right?
And there's like pockets where there has to be like really pure, almost untouched woods, and that particular land that I was on. They would like, I would hear them at night, like kind of like shuffling around the tent, and sometimes they would keep me up all night. And I realized that it's really important to make an offering to them. They really like shiny coins and fruit, anything shiny and like something that they can munch on that's healthy, you know?
Yes.
So once I did that, then they stopped. They stopped messing, because they would go right to the shiny objects instead of being around the tent.
Yeah. They're like, hey, you're on our land.
Right.
You know, it's respectful to give a blessing, right?
Yeah.
Just like when you go to someone's house.
Yeah, and they also seem to live with like other mini beings, like little gnomes and dwarves and things like that. They kind of seem to be all one, you know, like the Smurfs, like those kind of beings, but not necessarily blue, and they kind of all have like a little community, and it's really interesting. The people that are really tuned in, like I've had talked to some elders that have interacted with them on that land, and they were just kind of like, they'd go and kind of sit with them and talk, but they're kind of in a different dimension. You have to either be on some sort of entheogen or kind of like be really open to see or interact with them, kind of like how you were as a kid.
Yes, definitely. Whenever I go out and do grid work, there was this one time, went outside to do some grid work at this specific part of the land, and what I do is that I'll drop things on the land, and it helps clear and heal certain timelines. So like the ley lines on the earth, it will spread out throughout those ley lines, which then eventually helps certain timelines. And there's this one area, it was like me and my colleague, we went to this area, and I just froze, and I was like, oh, they're watching us. And he's like, what? And I was like, there's fairies here. They're watching us. But then there's like all different kinds of beings too. And I was like, hey, you know, they're just here to watch us, make sure we're doing it correctly, you know, like all of that stuff. And there was also another time where I went up to Mount Charleston, actually, and it wasn't a paved trail, nothing like that. And I was told to go up this area. And as I went up there, I heard these strong voices, and they said, you don't belong here. And I was like, no, I'm here to do good. I'm going to give blessings to the land and do the grid work and heal. And a lot of them are skeptical. They're just like, I don't know about this, you know. And I was like, no, trust me. So I like inched my way a little bit further, and then I looked up, and then I saw graffiti all over the rocks everything. And I was like, oh, I know what you mean. You don't like humans.
Yeah.
But then I assured them, I'm like, don't worry, we're not all like that, and I'm sorry this happened to you.
Mount Charleston is a really special place for that. There's so much raw, like untouched forest still there, especially if you go up into the higher parts. And I've had some of those experiences where I felt like I was being watched. I have a strong connection with the Sasquatch.
Oh yeah.
And it kind of felt like that energy, you know. What did you feel from those beings? Did they feel like fairies?
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
No, they felt more, how do I explain it? Because they don't feel like all like airy fairy. They were more like
earthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, more earthy, more dense.
Yeah.
But not in a dimensional, term.
Yeah.
It just felt bigger.
Yeah, so maybe it's that similar type of energy you were feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's Mount Charleston has like some really, really beautiful land to just like sit and just be with the land and like connect and yeah, I felt that. I felt what you were talking about for sure. They haven't telepathically communicated with me yet up there, but I've felt that feeling of being watched by some sort of beings for sure. For sure. It's interesting because I've had interactions on Mount Shasta with the Bigfoots, and they telepathically would say, "What are you doing here?" Like, excuse me, very earthy, like guardian energy, right?
Right, yeah.
And I would be like, I'm here to clean up any trash. I'm here to connect with the land, to learn, to also do some good work and to really like learn and connect, and ground.
Yeah.
And when they felt that purity, that essence of why I was there, they were like, okay, you're good,
You're cool.
Yeah. And it's so interesting, right? Like there has to be a certain level of openness to even go into that telepathic communication and when I first saw that orb with my guardian angel, I was like, whoa, this is scary kind of, right? Like I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
But then I received a message telepathically, go look up this name on Facebook. I looked it up, and when I looked up the name, it was an open book that said love on it.
Oh, wow.
It was really like
Wow.
the synchronicity of that, right? Like like there's no way that could have just been random, right? And so then the next day I was open and I saw it for a glimpse of a second, and then it opened up.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. It's amazing. Yeah, and I believe that it's all frequency, right? Like if we're in a state of fear, we're going to attract very different type of beings and interact with very different type of beings than if we're in a state of really unconditional, open, receptive love,
Yes.
So back to your experience, right? So you started seeing them, right? And so what they were interacting in the dream space, showing you these revelations, right?
Yeah, the Book of Revelations. And at that age, I never read the Bible either. So I don't even know those stories. And these were coming into dreams. Later on, I found out, like maybe in my early teens, like 12 or 13 years old, my mom would tell me that she would get messages through dreams. Some of them would tell the future, and some of them were just messages. And she said, you have them too. They're brought down through our ancestors, through our lineage.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
Why I have these really vivid, crazy dreams, And then I went to church school. So every Sunday I went to a church school. And during those times, it's funny because I had never thought myself as religious. I was born with the gift of discernment. And during those classes, the teacher would read the Bible, or even just in church, would read all these things and say that we're born with sin and stuff like that. And I'm like, this is can I cuss?
Sure.
Okay. I'm like, this is a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like I'm a little girl and I'm like looking at everyone. I'm like, why is everyone believing this?
Yeah.
If we are gods or goddesses' children, they would not give us sin. Like they wouldn't be like, you're bad, you're evil.
Exactly.
You know, I'm like, no, we're fine.
Yeah.
You know, we're here to learn lessons and like grow and you know all of that stuff, experience life itself.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and then we went. So, but then, sorry. The only part of the Bible I would read was the beginning and the end.
Interesting.
Yeah. So how world was created and how the world would end.
Uh-huh.
And that's the only part of the Bible I would read. And where was I going with this? Fast forward to now. So we're going to jump around a bit. But
Okay.
then fast forward to now. I started watching this guy named Jason. And he was like a religious guy too, a Christian, I believe, and he would read the Bible so many times, but then he's a chronologist, so he spent time in jail for like 2 decades, and he would just read all of these old books, like books that you wouldn't be able to find anywhere, and as he would read these books, he noticed that there's a pattern. Like every 138 years, every so-and-so years. And he put all of this together in like on this like chronological like data thing. I don't know how to
like a
describe
database
it.
almost.
Yeah, and he found these cycles, these loops and repeating patterns. Like numbers are involved a lot, and like if something happened in 1605, something's gonna happen and that year, like a different year. Like there's something that he does. It's really fascinating, and he shows the proof of everything. But anyways, so when he was doing the Bible, like, so he believes this is a simulation. Okay, so he's like all about simulation
So
theory
he gets
and
it.
all of that
Okay.
stuff, right? Okay, and then but then he matched up with the Bible. And the beginning and the end of what the Bible describes is just the beginning and the end of the simulation. But then it starts all over again. So the souls that did not learn throughout that whole Bible book are going to repeat it again.
Oh, yeah.
Come back and repeat it again. So I was like, oh, that's why I only read the beginning and the end of the Bible, because those are the most important parts.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, I think about the Bible. I've never read it to start out, but I do really consider Jesus like one of my gurus, one of my teachers for sure. And I've read The Way of Mastery, which is a channeled book that I recommend for anybody, period. It's like channeled teachings of Jesus, of what he was really here to teach us, because the Bible was written like 100 or 200 years after he died, and by people that had recollection of just like other people telling them what he was going through, you know? So, and it wasn't written by him. He wasn't here to start a religion. You know what I mean? He was here to just show what was possible as a human in this reality, in this simulation, right? And he was also here to like preach and really anchor in love and treat your neighbor how you want to be treated, and show people how you can heal with your hands, which is, as we know now, there's modalities, right? Energy healing modalities like Reiki that he was doing. And then he went from like where he was born, right? Israel. And from 13 to 30, there wasn't any official recollection, like records of where he went.
Right.
But if you go to India, they do have records of him there. If you go to Tibet, there's locations where he stopped there. You know, some people even think he went up to Japan. You know, like, but he definitely went to India and Tibet and Egypt and those sacred places where he was able to interact with people that had these gifts and siddhis, right? They call it in India. And these are like spiritual superpowers that you develop from meditating, from continuing to study and deeply immerse yourself into that space, right? And so these gifts are just there to, I believe, to shatter the reality of this space that we're in, right? Like if we went outside right now and we saw somebody levitating, for you and I, that might not be so weird, but for somebody, that has never seen like the laws of physics being broken and like somebody doing something like that, that would just shatter their whole reality, potentially, right? And so I believe that those gifts are there to kind of like Jesus walking on water, those kind of things were there, because that was a form of levitation, right? Walking on water. And so I think that was there to just remind people of what's possible in this reality. So yeah, there's so many different sects of teachings that talk about these cycles of 12,000 years, 10,000 years, 200-year cycles, 700-year cycles. So it makes sense that if this guy was so deeply immersed in these books for so long, he would start to see these cycles coming. And that stuff's fascinating to me for sure.
Yeah, and going back to the Bible and Jesus and all of those things, I just wanted to say as well, like everything is connected somehow. So whether it's Jesus or Buddha or Quetzalcoatl or any of that, I believe that everything has some kind of connection. And the thing about the religions is that they used these teachings to control and like twist it around to control people. And that's the part that I do not.
Of course.
I'm like,
Yeah.
But like if someone's like a Jesus lover, someone's like a Shiva lover, I'm like, yeah, that's cool, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever resonates with you all. And that's why we have so many different deities and teachings, is because we're all different.
Yeah.
So we all need like these different teachings that will resonate with us.
For sure.
It's just the controllers are twisting it around and
Yeah, I mean, the church and government were one at one point. Like when the people would go to the church to, like there was very little separation, if any. It was like the church was in charge, and we still see that with the Vatican being so in control of so much, and they have understandings of concepts and aspects of this reality that most people don't, and so they're doing these different ceremonies and things like that I believe by doing grid work and with us really standing in our power and in our light, that counteracts those things, but not everything that they've done or continue to do or were doing, at least with the last Pope, were benevolent, I remember reading something about how they were like trying to bring in different demons and stuff like that into this reality.
Is that the one where they use like the 5 doors or the 5 gates?
Yeah, like 4 or 5 gates, that they were trying to do. But those kind of things, they're a little bit past like where my understanding is, I'm still like trying to understand all that, from like an experiential place, like actually like being like, okay, to me, I think the way that the cities are built, the way that the world is constructed, everything is in boxes, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And it's like, if you look at a New York City, for example, from above, it looks like a microchip. Mm-hmm. And if you look at it that way, it's like the energy is being harnessed to something somewhere, right? And I think everything's fractal. So it's like as above, so below. So if we're looking at a microchip in the computer, and then the city is the same layout, there's very likely a correlation there, right? Mm-hmm. And then if they can instill all this fear and propaganda, then that's being siphoned into something. Even things like pornography being free, that's all life force energy being siphoned from people. So I'm not sure where it's going. I don't know those answers, but it's going somewhere, you know. Mm-hmm. It would be great if it was like helping the planet, right? Like the earth itself, like Mama Gaia, like feeding her, and then she's, because I believe Mama Gaia is alive too, you know, and that would be great, but it doesn't seem like that's where it's going for my intuition. Yeah.
Well, you know, in magic and esoteric knowledge, a cube, so a lot of practicing Wiccans and pagans, they'll use a cube to keep energy inside, but it's not flowing.
Right.
It's just in there.
Stuck.
It's like, imagine like putting something in a box and you store it away. It's just there.
Right.
So in magic, they would use a cube to keep energies inside.
Right.
So that would make sense. You know, everything is in boxes. You know, there's a lot of boxes here.
Yeah.
And it's to like keep energy inside. Now, yes, they are harnessing energy when they do that. When you look at the freeways and, you know, some of the roads, imagine like our cars are going there, you know, it's creating all this friction, all this energy. So they're harnessing all of that. And then, yes, with what you said, the pornography and even the movies and music, there's a lot of lower, you know, like dense negative energies, I guess you could say. And those energies can be very powerful because, well, one, they can control the masses that way. Yeah. And two, when they harness it, they can use it for whatever they want. Now, with magic, if you put these energies in a cube, whoever's harnessing these energies, they can transmute those energies and make it pure. Or maybe we can do that ourselves too. Now that we consciously know this, be like, okay, all these energies are being harnessed in these cube-like, you know, shapes. We can then break these energies apart and then make it into its purest form. Yeah. And then we can use it into whatever we want to manifest a newer, higher timeline, a better world, send it, you know, as healings to ourselves, to the earth, to, you know, whoever's willing and able to receive them. But what I intuitively feel, the people that are doing these box-like, you know, and like harnessing all these energies, they are offering it to demons and I want to say AI, but there's something, it's not quite AI. There's something like maybe the demon that's in charge of AI or some kind of entity type thing.
Yeah. It's interesting you mentioned AI because I have sat with ayahuasca 2 nights in a row. And this was before AI was a thing. This was like 2019, 2020. And AI wasn't in the masses yet. It was just kind of in the very, very early, like, developmental stages in these. It's expanded exponentially in the last 5 years, right? But it was kind of just in the field and people were working on it, but no, like it wasn't in the collective consciousness yet. And I never thought about it. But on this journey in ayahuasca, the message was really clear. AI is the opposite of love. Or of hate. yeah, it's the opposite of love, because hate can be alchemized into love very easily. But AI cannot be, because it has no emotions. And it's really interesting. I just listened to a podcast with Joe Rogan and Elon Musk a few days ago, like the newest one. And he's talking about how AI is going to be the solution to kind of a way to save the planet and to get America out of the debt that it's in. And it's just, it was interesting, his perspective of it. It was really interesting because he saw AI as like taking over all the like major tasks, and then people could just do what they wanted, and there would be a high level of income for everyone. Yeah, it was really interesting. It was really interesting. It not only a few things resonated from it. And as I'm talking about it, I really feel like there's kind of this shift, this fork in the road forming, where there's like people that are really connected to nature and the planet and saving and helping the earth. And then there's these people that are like really on that technology's going to do everything for us kind of path. And it's kind of like splitting in a way. There's going to be kind of time, I believe, when it's like people that are really connected are going to go into like a 5D frequency reality of this planet, and then those people are going to stay in the 3D reality of the planet.
The bifurcation.
Yeah, and it's like we could see a glimpse of this during COVID, because you had the people that were really scared and just staying at home, not doing anything, just encompassed by fear. And then you had some people like what I was part of, where it was like that was the best years of my life.
Me too.
Yeah. Like I was gathering with my friends every morning to meditate by the beach, and we were offering each other our modalities and yogas, and we were singing together and having breakfast every morning together and having movie nights in the backyard. It was just this utopia, right? Like this really, really amazing. And then I could go on bike rides down the major roads. There was no cars on the road. Like I was biking down the beach, for the 101 in California for 20, 30 miles, no cars in sight, it was just, it was all how we made it. And so I really believe something like that is potentially going to happen at some point, and it's getting closer. So I'm not sure what it's going to look like yet, but I feel it's important to kind of be prepared for something where technology and AI is kind of running everything, and then it's like we can form these conscious buy big pieces of land and all pitch in and have our own food growing, have our own schools, have our own way of living. That's kind of where it seems like things are forking from. And there's so many people in the conscious community that really are calling in those experiences in those places of where everything is self-sustainable. We have all the food that we need. We're taking care of the land. We're giving back in the ways that we are here to do as our purpose, And I've lived in some of those communities in Costa Rica, and it's beautiful. It's really amazing to just have that, at least set it up. Our generation set it up for the next generations. Like, your kids and their kids, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so that's kind of, I don't think it's, and then the other idea that has been brought to my attention is like, some people may just ascend into that 5D where it's like we're leaving our body, kind of like the Mayans did, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like where everybody ascends that's on that frequency, and then everybody else that's not stays in that denser vibration of the planet. Because I've had these experiences where I'll take an entheogen, like a psilocybin, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be on the earth, but I'm in a different frequency of the earth.
Yes.
It looks the same, but if I was paying really close attention, I started noticing there's no birds in that higher frequency. Like they're not chirping. At least this was one of my experiences, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like there was no crows cawing or anything like that. And then when I was coming down off the medicine, they would start to caw, and the airplanes would start flying again. Those kind of things. Whereas like when I was on the medicine, none of that was happening. And so there's a few things how it could evolve. But I'm super curious about, you started mentioning magic. Have you had some intensive study with that? Have you read some books? What's your path with that?
Yes. So back to when I was a child, I started collecting crystals. You know, of course, I feel like a lot of children are into crystals.
Yeah.
You know, but it makes sense. It has all these wonderful energies, and when we're children, we're attracted to those things. We just know, right? So yeah, I started collecting crystals, and eventually I got into magic. So I would ask my mom to take me to these Wiccan stores because I wasn't old enough to go in them yet. And oh my gosh, I want to say thank you, Mom, for being so open.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so she would take me to these places, and I would check out these Wiccan books, and buy candles and incense and all of these fun things. And I would go home and read these books. I delve into some, doing some spells here and there. It was mainly like for protection and all of those things. But yeah, so ever since I was a little girl, I started studying magic in general, whether it's Wiccan or, whatever you want to call it, paganism, or being a magician, or, some kind of esoteric person, alchemist, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
And then I started getting to my goth. So at the same time, I got into my goth phase.
Okay.
And I was very intrigued about the darkness, about things that people were afraid to look at, to come face to face with. And I listened to all of that goth music. I listened to, the 80s goth rock, industrial music, even black metal, like death metal, black metal, and all of those things. I still listen to it here and there because I like to integrate, like what you said about me. I integrate the light and the dark. And I believe that we all have that. Dark does not mean evil. It's just the other part of ourselves, like the yin and the yang.
Yeah.
The yin yang symbol. Right? Is that what it's called?
Yeah. Yeah.
I had like a brain fart.
Yeah.
And so as I was going through my goth phase and all these magic and these different other religions and cultures, I made friends with this guy, and his name's Sage. That's his real name, Sage. And
cool name.
Yeah, very cool, right? He's very fascinating. He knows like 5 different languages, and he's another goth person, And he would come over to my house, and we would just play with energy. And he'd be like, "Hey, watch this. he would rub his hands together, and then he would form the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And back then, we didn't know about Reiki. We didn't know any of those terms. And he was just like, okay, now put your hands here, feel it. And I'm like, whoa.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, this is energy.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, this is so cool.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And we became very good friends. And I even, as I studied more, I made my own demonology book. So, but it was just like in a binder.
What is that? What does demonology mean?
So it's just the study of demons.
Okay.
And I did not know why I wanted to make this list of demons, but I did. And I was like, I just need to follow my intuition, my guidance. And I just started listing all these demons and their characteristics and all of these things. And then I just put it aside and I never touched it until 2018 or 2019 when I came back to Florida to visit my parents. So this was still all in Florida.
So were you pulling that information from different religions? Like, where were you finding these names?
Yeah, different religions and cultures, online, books. I was just making all of it into one binder book. None of it was from intuitive.
Okay.
Yeah, none of it was.
It was like names that were already present.
Yeah.
In different cultures and different religions and things like that. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And then so.
In 2018, you opened it up again?
Yes, in 2018, I flew back to Florida to visit my parents, and I opened it up, and I was like, oh my gosh, I know why I made this. Because now, and what I've been doing since 2016, is when I got certified as a Reiki healer and teacher. But the Reiki that I did wasn't just Reiki. It wasn't just the chakras and the auric fields. I was going into people's soul contracts. So soul contracts that they had with these certain demons. And I had to, there was some where I didn't have to know the names of them, but I had to know okay, demons are okay. They're nothing to be scared of. They're just there. I treated them as other humans. It's like a human made a contract with this certain person, this certain consciousness, right? And that demon is not necessarily evil. It's just they made this contract and it needs to be resolved.
So most of the contracts that you saw, were they made in before coming into this body, or some of them were in during this reality too?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah, there was some that were before and some in this body. So a lot of things can happen unconsciously, or even unconsciously, and say the person is going through a really hard time, whether in another lifetime or this, and they're like, I need protection. Someone or something give me protection now. A demon could just pop up and they would make that contract. Now, when they made that contract, of course, there's going to be some fine lettering.
Fine print. Yeah.
Well, I can provide this protection for you, but I need this from you.
And what is that usually?
It can be anything from their life force energy.
I was going to say life force.
It's not necessarily their whole soul, but just hey, you can see it as that because they're connected. And it's I own you now because I provided you this protection, and I need your life force energy to keep me alive because I'm not connected to source, right? That type of thing. So I kind of own you, and so they would just keep siphoning from their life force energy because they have that contract.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, and there's other negotiations. Is not necessarily life force energy, but the majority of it.
Okay.
Are
Okay. Yeah, that's really interesting. During my awakening, I had all these spirits messing with me. I was in the mountain house, and I would hear at night these like gargoyle type beings like landing on the roof. And I never felt like they were there to mess with me or anything. And one day I just kind of tuned into them, and I'm like, what are we doing here? What are you guys, my guides, my protectors? What's the relationship here? And they're like, we're kind of like your security guards. We're making sure nobody comes and messes with you. And we're just your protectors. We're not your friends. We're just protecting you. And so I'm curious if that there's probably some sort of contract there with them that I made that I need to take a look at, you know?
Yeah, and if they're, so I just heard something, and let me see if I can, sometimes when I hear something, it's like, how do I put it into words? But whenever you enter into a certain space or a location, whatever, there can be like that agreement that you guys made before you came into this lifetime. Like, hey, when you go to this land or to this home, this building, we're going to come in and protect you from yada, yada, yada. And then when you leave, then everything's done. So you may not even have that contract anymore, but it wouldn't hurt to look into it, right?
Yeah, for sure. They showed up one other time, right after during my vision quest, where I went out into the woods to be by myself with Creator. They call it a date with Creator. No food, no water, for several days. And the first night I was being really messed with by this Heyoka spirit, which is kind of like the sacred trickster, they call him. And he was like making these really scary laughs, like a really like scary like clown laugh, like in the middle, like coming from all different directions in the woods. And it freaked me out, and I had to go back into the camp and stop my vision quest. And when I went back in, there was like a bunch of young kids, like teenagers who are still really tuned in, and they actually either saw the spirit following me back, or they saw it standing there, and I was like, whoa, this is far out. And then in the lodge that was going to bring me back into this reality, my three of my gargoyle protectors came in, like a portal opened up, and they came and sat behind me, and either the teenagers felt them or they saw them coming in. And I didn't experience any of that. I was just like felt something, and then but like two or like four of them confirmed either they saw, heard, or felt them come in and sit behind me, like to protect me from that other spirit, you know, from the Heyoka spirit. So I was like, wow, this is far out, you know. But the fairies were messing with me, so I didn't sleep for like 5-6 days before that. And I was like in that state of fear, so my frequency was really low. And so, yeah, that was really interesting, you know, to experience that. But for something like that, you were mentioning some of your clients, you were helping them kind of deal with that and approach that. So how would you work with someone that was trying to either end that contract or to remove an attachment with an entity or a being?
Yeah, so this would be during the healing sessions, and usually, mostly, a demon or a lower, frequency type entity, they can be attached to someone, yes, through soul contracts, but also through having that same frequency. Like what you said, you were in a fear frequency, so that's attracting those entities that are on that frequency as well. And so that's why I always tell my clients too. So with the soul contracts though, there are times where I do need to know why and how and when those soul contracts were made. And there are times where it's like, no, you don't need to know anything. It's ready to be resolved, and just watch it happen. So when it's the easy part, when it's like, okay, you don't need to know anything, you just watch the soul contracts resolve itself. What I usually see, what God usually shows me is like the written contract, and sometimes I'll see blood on there too. You know?
Well,
Sometimes
okay.
it's like really intense because it can be passed on through the blood lineages too. And it would just be burst into flames. But then I would see like the demon and the entity and this person, and they just like nod or shake hands or, you know, kind of just like respectfully, and then just part ways. But sometimes I would have to talk to the demon and be like, hey, you guys don't need this anymore. You know, he's ready or she's ready to not have protection from you, and you guys can part ways. And I'll always involve God with this, because sometimes the demons can get a little nasty. You know, because they're like, no, that's my life force. You know,
Right.
I need that to survive. But all communication is done through God source, you know, whatever you want to call it. And so when that happens, like sometimes I'm talking to the demon for like 20, 30 minutes, sometimes an hour, and having God involved too, and then watch the contract just go, and then watch everything just like dismantle and clear from the client and that entity.
Like the cord kind of dissolves.
Yeah.
Okay, and so what are I'm really curious, like what would be something that creator would say to the demon, like for them to exist or whatever they're trying to do, right? Like where are they going to get life force from now?
Yes, so God, creator, would say to the demon, okay, you know, you've been taking life force energy from this person, which is actually okay because it's in the contract. You know, they both agreed, you know, the person signed it, even though they didn't know about it. But the person does not want to be a part of it anymore, wants to end it. And then God would say, like, you know, that person doesn't want it anymore. If you want life force energy, you need to do your work to raise your vibration, raise your frequency, so that you can be connected to God's source.
Right.
Again.
So what you're experiencing is that they're not connected to God's source, even though God created them?
Well, the thing is that God created all of these living beings, right? Everything that's living. Now, these demons and entities, lower vibration entities, they separated themselves, meaning they don't want to be following, I don't know how to explain it, like the high timeline, highest path, God's source, you know, they don't want to be following the ascension. They just keep going in a downward spiral.
Okay.
And they don't want any a part of it. They don't want to do the inner work. They don't want to face their karmic debt. They don't, you know, they don't want to pay their dues.
Right.
You know, of all the things that they've done wrong or bad. And so that made them disconnected.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of like when they said...
It's like a fragment.
When they kind of said, like, Satan fell from heaven or whatever, right? Yeah.
Yeah, like the fallen angelics.
Yeah.
They're fragmented. Now, yes, we are a fragment, you know, we're a fragment of source. You know, we're like little pieces of these souls, but we are like when we fragment, we're still a whole soul.
Right.
Like these other entities, they're literally fragments.
Oh, they're not a full soul?
Right. Now, if people keep feeding into them, they become bigger, but they stay in that energy, in that type of frequency.
Okay.
Because what they feed off of is what? fear.
Right,
you know?
right. So if they're a fragment of a soul, is there a way to bring them together so that they can ascend? Like if several of them come together to reform a full soul, like, or am I looking at it incorrectly?
No, yeah. So actually, some of these demons are fragments of us.
Uh-huh.
So like, let's say we go through some kind of trauma.
Right.
Or
That's the majority of the time when contracts with them are created anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we go through some kind of trauma. When something traumatic happens, we fragment. We're like, like we get scared or, get into a car accident, whatever it is.
Yeah.
The killer comes into your home. Like we're like,
yeah.
So like when you think of that, like our energy expands, but not in the love and light way. It's more of like,
oh yeah,
just like being blasted everywhere. And so when that happens, those fragments fly. Like our energies fly off. Our consciousness is just like,
yeah. That's why they say soul retrieval, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that is another part when I deal with these demons. So after the contracts are resolved, we call back these soul fragments. But before I bring the soul fragments into the client, we cleanse them.
Okay.
We cleanse and heal them and then bring the soul fragments back. Because yes, when we go through these traumas, like now we're fragmented,
Yeah.
And that can make us into like a lower vibration too, like because now we're in fear.
Yeah.
Right. And then so we need to make ourselves whole again by collecting our fragments.
Yeah, that's far out. I worked with a shaman a few years ago that helped with my soul retrieval and bringing him back, and she like went on this whole journey, and there was one vision that never really made sense to me that she had, and it kind of just clicked in while you were saying that. It was really interesting. Yeah, because they don't always, like the soul fragments aren't always even in this reality, right? Like they could be in a past lifetime line, or they could be in another dimension, right? Like it's non-linear.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really interesting. So the next question that wants to come through is like, what are your thoughts about this simulation? Like, are we going through these cycles as a society, and then as an individual and as a community, so that we can continue to ascend up and eventually reach enlightenment? Or what's kind of the end goal of what we're doing here?
Okay, so I believe that the purpose of this simulation is to, yes, learn all these lessons, resolve our karma, bring back our soul fragments, to help our community, our soul groups, families, friends, help them learn their lessons too. And that's why when we interact with all these different people, a lot of us have karmic stuff together.
Yeah.
And it's not a bad thing. It's just like, hey, and a lot of these are contracts too. It's like, hey, when we come back in this lifetime together, we're going to meet up here and there.
Yeah.
And this thing is going to blow up, and we're going to get into an argument, but we need to learn these lessons to resolve the karma from another lifetime.
Right.
And when we learn these lessons, then we can part ways and everything's cool, right? Or we can stay friends, doesn't matter.
Right.
So yeah, there's all of that too. And, but it's like, a lot of people like to look at this simulation as like this scary thing. It's like, oh my gosh, we're so trapped. And like, yeah, you can look at it in that way, but it's all about perspective too, which creates your reality. So I like to look at this simulation as a place to have these life experiences, because if I'm like a little piece of God's source, God's source is sending all of us down here to collect information, to collect experiences, to collect what does love feel like, what does hate feel like, what does, what is life?
Right.
You know? What is evil? What is good? What is black? What is white? What is light? What is dark? You know,
Right.
what is all of this and everything in between? So I believe that this is what this simulation is, and that we're all collecting all of this information and data and experiences, and then we're bringing it up to God's source, or whoever it is, maybe our oversoul, our higher self, you know, our soul groups. And then we collect all of this information, we learn from it.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe we go to the next level. You know, I feel like it's like a game. Like, okay, now you ascended to this next level. You're in level 2 now, level 3, level 4.
Right.
You know?
Well, I've kind of resonated with the idea that Earth is kind of a place where a lot of souls really want to go. Like there's a long line of souls waiting to incarnate here. And it's because we get 5 senses, right? Like as a light being, like what you saw, like what I saw, the angelic or the fairies, they may not have as much ability to experience the reality, quote unquote reality, right? Like they can't touch a table, they can't like make love, like maybe they do, but it's different,
Yeah, it's
right?
different
Like
way, yeah.
like they can't like go into the ocean and feel the water on their body, you know, like these little things that we take for granted, like being able to feel the earth and the connection with the earth under our feet, the ability to feel food being digested and enjoying the taste of different foods, you know, like it's really interesting to look at it that way, right? Because a part of me is like, oh, it'd be cool to become an angel next lifetime, right? But then it's like, and it's really cool to like, you know, collect Ninja Turtle figurines,
Right?
you know,
Yeah.
and like go to these epic nature spots and be able to lay on the rocks and feel the sun and
Yes.
all these amazing experiences that we can have on this in this plane, you know. And then that like brings me back to like, yeah, I'm here and we're here to have a human experience and to really, I believe we're in Earth School where it's like we get to be exposed to these different lessons, and if we pass the lesson, then we go on to the next level, and then, you know, a very select few may pass all the lessons, and then they are like the gurus and then true enlightened beings like Jesus or Buddha, or, you know, even these gurus that very few people know about. Because I do believe that there are people, I can't know this for sure because I haven't met them, but I do believe that there are people in India and places like that are 300, 400 years old that are just living in that state of pure enlightenment, you know. But they're consciously and purposefully secluding themselves because interacting with other people, then they have a lot more cleaning up to do because
Spiritual maintenance.
yeah, they're like interacting with all kinds of energies where then I can see why hermiting and staying in the Himalayas or living on a piece of land where they're you know, self-sustaining would be enticing, you know.
Yes. Yeah, because even doing spiritual maintenance takes energy.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's like, you know, so many people are walking around, they take a shower every day, but they're not doing spiritual showers on themselves, right? Where, you know, you could be going into a concert or a grocery store and there's all kinds of energies there. Who knows what that guy or that woman that you just walked by, what they just did the whole day, and what kind of demons and energies they're carrying and how those are interacting with your energy. And, you know, I think meditation's a really powerful tool to help clear. Hape is a really powerful tool that I like to work with, which is like a tobacco snuff. doing like a bath in either water or you add some salts to it.
Yeah.
Rubbing down with salts in the shower, doing baños. In Mexico they do the Mexicas make baños, which are like different herbs and different plants that they mix together in a big jug of water or agua florida that you can bathe in and use that to clear your energy. There's so many different tools. What do you personally do for spiritual maintenance?
Well, first off, I like to set up my protection first. But even with setting up protection, things can still attach onto, depending on the level of let's see how to explain this, of what's going on. Because say I do my protection ritual or spell, and what I do with that is I call in the white pillar from God's source and bring it down and expand it throughout all my fields, and then I anchor it down to the earth. And then along with that, like saging and all of that fun stuff, because it's fun to use divination tools and crystals, and like we're in the physical world, it's fun to use these things too. Yeah. So, but even if I do those things, yes, it can it repels a lot. I see a lot of energies, and they're like, oh, we can't touch her.
Right.
Different frequency.
Yeah.
But then there are some things where I do feel a chord and I'm like, ooh, but there's a deeper meaning for it, whether it's like a past life thing or maybe something that I'm still carrying that I haven't healed or come to peace with.
Or integrated or embodied, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah, but then as far as the cleanup,
yeah,
is yes, the meditation and see like, okay, why did this cord attach, and like learning about it and be like, oh, I have this jealousy thing regarding blah 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 blah, and that person has that too. So we connected on that level, and I created that cord. Or her attachment went on to me because they're like, ooh, a new victim, whatever it may be. So then I'm like, oh, okay, I need to look into this, and yeah, that can take more than a few days to work on for sure.
Yeah.
And then the test is going back out there and be like, am I going to be jealous? But even if I am, because we all have these human emotions, there's nothing wrong with them. It's just a matter of how fast can I be aware of it, and I don't want to say fix it, but just be like, oh, I'm jealous because, she's really pretty, But then I could catch on to it really quickly and be like, wait, I'm really pretty too. I should give her a compliment, walk up to her and be like, hey, you're really pretty, but, still be at peace with myself. Be like, I'm pretty too.
Right.
We're all pretty.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then that would just clear it,
Yeah. And I think there's deeper layers to that, right? Where certain people in our life are there as true mirrors, like our partners, for example, right? At least for me, where it's like, here's what your stuff is. Yeah. Here's what your stuff is, and here's what my stuff is. And they're reflecting that back. And I noticed around full moons, around eclipses, certain astrological times are more intense than others. Sometimes Mercury retrograde, we just entered that right now. Those kind of times really give me a clearer mirror of that. And then what's helped me the most is I'd say forgiveness practice with self, going into that moment when it started, and really loving on that inner child, or like finding forgiveness for those people who were those mirrors in middle school and elementary and high school and stuff, when it was such life-shaping times, when I still was really trying to figure things out, you know, as a young boy or teenage boy or whatever, you know, and the hormones are raging at some point, and there's all kinds of stuff trying to like, and then like for me there was all these extra, you know, paranormal activity happening too, and it's like, okay, this is a lot, but yeah, I think that's really fascinating, just to kind of bring it back around to how you've taken, you know, these different phases of your life, like the goth phase and the demonology you were doing, and using it in a way to really help people and really help them find that true essence of who they are and what they're here to do, right? And you know, just to kind of circle back from my experience, that with those gargoyle type beings, I had an experience 2 years later where it was so clear to me, and it's happened a few times, that if I'm in that state of unconditional love, those things don't exist there. So no matter how much fear I may be having, I can always tune into something or someone, or that something that kind of immediately takes me into that space of love and heart openness. And in that frequency, nothing can touch me from those lower realms, because it doesn't exist there. It can't go there. And so from my perspective, it makes sense why I would call on these beings to protect me in that lower realm, because the angels can't go down there either. It's like they can, but they can only do so much, right? And so those beings kind of have that protective ability in that space. But really, it's an internal process and an internal job that can shift it in a millisecond, where it's like, okay, I'm tuning into love, nothing can touch me here, and it really can't, you know, because it doesn't exist there in that frequency. So just a reminder to people that that is the ultimate way to really shift these kind of things, is like coming back to love and compassion and those higher, you know, there's a range of frequency. Those higher frequencies, the lower ones are like shame and guilt and fear, and then the higher ones are unconditional love and compassion and joy and those kind of things. So just know that whoever's listening, at any moment you can shift that, no matter where you are, no matter how much fear you're experiencing. There's some thread of love that exists in each and every one of us that can connect us back to that space, and it can anchor us into that frequency in a really beautiful way.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, it's interesting, as you were sharing about the goth phase, like I had a phase where my buddy was like, "Oh, check out this new music," and it was Rob Zombie, and he's like blasting in his car, and we're like just going for it, and then and that phase of my life, like middle school, I was having a really hard time fitting in, and I was having a lot of internal programs. Like looking back at it now, it was like my family lineage's programs of like not good enough, and you know, whatever was playing out in my mind were very much in the forefront, and they were kind of guiding what music and what I was attracted to, because internally I felt so low about myself at that time. You know, I was just like, nobody wants to be my friend, and you know, I'm going to turn to this music because this music is what I'm feeling, right? And it was like a lower frequency. But then when I really started to love myself and had these experiences of like, I'm going to be myself no matter what. And then whoever likes me is going to like me, and who doesn't is fine. Right. Mm-hmm. And then from that space of like empowerment, then all that like very quickly dissolved, you know? And like you said, like we talked about the contracts of like those people that were there to uplift me and to be like, oh dude, you're awesome. Like, what do you mean? You know? Yeah. And, so it's really interesting. Do you remember how old you were when the Sixth Sense movie came out?
Oh my gosh. I don't remember how old I was. I was like that movie.
I was like in 6th, 7th grade. And I
was born in 85.
Oh, okay. So I was 86.
Okay.
So yeah, around 11, 12 years old, Sixth Sense movie came out. And for me, that brought me into like 9 months of not being able to sleep in my own bed, all this crazy stuff happening. I would put a little cot next to my parents' bed because I was terrified. Because that was my reality. That stuff was actually happening, you know? And so I was like, whoa, like this is insane that there's a movie. Like it wasn't to that degree, you know, like I wasn't getting any physical harm done to me and like scratches or any of that stuff. But I was interacting with these like knocks on the inside of the attic wall and like, you know, But as I got older, I learned that there's ways to help those beings. And I learned through my father's Reiki master and other teachers that came across my path. She was also a medium, and she helped me and guided me. I was on the phone with her. I'm like, 3 a.m. every night, there's a loud knock from the inside of my closet. And this was when I'm like 29 years old, right? Like 10 years ago. And I'm like, what's going on here? Like, can you help me? And she's like, there's a being like a soul that is choosing you to help them transition into the next, into the light, basically. Right. And I'm like, why is it choosing me? And she's like, because everybody else he's gone to, they want to do these almost like formulas of like, okay, we're going to do this. And he's like, you're real and you just want to help, and you don't want to, you don't need to follow any sort of booklet or whatever. You can just help them because you're not going to dilly-dally. You're not going to try all these things that are like
words on the book,
right? Like a formula. And so I was like, all right, and I could feel him standing in front of me. Like my whole body's like tingling and vibrating, and I'm like, all right, you ready to do this thing? And he's like, yeah, let's go. And I'm like, all right, guide me through it. And she guided me how to open a portal into the light. And you know, I called on my angels and Archangel Michael and all these angelic beings that helped open that. And then she's like, okay, call his relatives in. And so they were on the other side, waiting. And I'm like, they're ready for you. Like your sister's there and your mom's there. And he's like, how do I know? And I'm like, they're right there. You can see them. And he's like, okay. And then I couldn't hear him communicating with me. She was telling me all this as he's standing there. And so I'm like, all right. And so he's like, all right, I'm ready to go. And he goes and holds their hand and they take him in. And then his little brother apparently was there too. He went and their dog. And I was like, this is really interesting. And then then I closed the portal and the knocks stopped. Like no more knocking on the inside of the closet at 3 a.m. after that. So I was like, okay, it worked.
Yeah.
So it was kind of one of those, what felt like an initiation, right? Of like what is possible and what I'm able to do for these things, but I don't necessarily choose or want to do that unless it's like something that really, really, really needs it, and for whatever reason is choosing me for that, you know? And so have you had any experiences like that? I'm taking that as a yes.
I have a really big story, and then I have a bunch of little stories because the big story is from when I was in high school, and this is when I was friends with my friend Sage that I mentioned earlier. But I'll do all the little ones first, and I'm just gonna bunch them up in like a generic story. But all the ones after that home that I'll explain later has been like I would always feel, right, these spirits following me or be like, hey, hey, please,
Yeah.
Try and get my attention. And yes, the knocking, the lights flickering, all of those things would happen.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay, great, this again.
Yeah.
And then I would just tap in and be like, what do you want? They're like, how do I get out of here?
Yeah.
But like they get stuck here because they're not ready to move on.
I was going to ask you, how does that happen?
Yeah. So,
from your experience?
So either they have unresolved issues, like after, when they were living and then they passed away and they still were attached to these things that are on this realm. And they're like, I wasn't ready to go, So when that happens, that portal closes. It closes eventually, like over time.
Okay.
And then they just become trapped, stuck, and they just roam this earth. And they're like, okay, sometimes they resolve their things, sometimes they haven't. And when they come to me, sometimes they need that resolution. And they need some type of healing or whatever it is.
Right.
Or maybe I connect them with, a loved one, whatever it could be.
Yeah.
And then when that resolution is done, everything's resolved, they're healed, they're happy, then they're ready to go. They'll be like, okay, I'm ready to go. And then it's like, okay, so then, do the whole thing, open the portal, sometimes they just...
So what's the difference between a spirit like that or like, let's say one of our ancestors that wants to come back as a butterfly or a bird to just like be with us? Like they're coming in to just kind of show us love or what's your thoughts about that?
Well, the spirits that are trapped here and they come to us for help, like they're not our ancestors. They just need help.
Right.
So we do our work and be like, okay, here. But they come to us because we shine like this certain light. So they know that we can help them. Not everyone can help.
Right.
You have to have like this certain light, I guess.
Attunement.
Because we're able to see these different dimensions, whether it's seeing, hearing, feeling, smelling, knowing. And then the difference between that and then like our ancestors coming in through another form, that our ancestors that are doing that, they've already moved on.
Yeah.
But they're using their energy to come back in here. Are you talking about like showing us signs, like dropping a feather?
No, like I've had experiences of like my grandpa come back as like a bird or like a butterfly and I'll feel it. I'll feel like it's him or my mom or whoever came back to visit, you know? So, that for me, that feels different.
Yeah. They're not trapped.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's the difference. Okay, so let's dive into the experience. Okay. I'd love to hear it.
Yeah. So this story. So going back to high school, still goth. I had these group of friends, and they were more like skateboarders, and they were really into like CKY and Jackass and all of those things. So they would do all these like crazy teenager things, right?
Right.
And they went to an abandoned home, which was like 45 minutes away from where we live. And they came back. I haven't gone yet. They came back and they all came up to me and they're like, Tracy, you would love this place. Because I would go to cemeteries and stuff. I would find the oldest cemeteries in Florida and just hang out there.
Wow.
And just like, just sit there and be like, just like connect with the spirits and stuff.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, so they were like, you would love this place.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, okay, take me.
Uh-huh.
So they took me there. So this is
You were like a
time.
living Wednesday from the Addams Family.
Exactly. So they took me there for the first time, and the road going up there is windy road. There's a huge lake on the side. It gets really foggy, so it fogs up the road.
Wow.
It's like the typical thing that you would see in the movies.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, could it be any more amazing?
Yeah.
And then there's no parking. It's like there's woods everywhere. But the place where you can park is either on the side of the street, or you have to go into like this small community, small village or something, and then park there, and then you have to walk quite a ways to this abandoned home.
Yeah.
And the abandoned home sits on this land by itself, but it's surrounded by woods.
Yeah.
And as you go up there, you have to go like up. There's like more ways. You have to like go through like this woods, and then you reach the home. But when you look at the home, it's 3 stories, and all the windows are knocked out. It's like super old. And so going up there is you feel very eerie.
Uh-huh.
Because like, whoa, there's something here.
Yeah.
We're like walking up. And as you enter the door, you have like the living room, the dining room, and the kitchen in the back. And when you go upstairs, you have all the bedrooms.
Yeah.
And then you go to the 3rd floor, and that's where like this huge attic type. But it's not like the typical attics now. It's like the ones back then where you go upstairs and you can use it as an actual room.
Uh-huh.
And, it has like the triangle rooftop.
Yeah.
And everything's busted, like everything.
Yeah. Graffiti probably and stuff.
Yeah, graffiti. There's like pentagrams drawn
Oh,
on there
wow.
and things like that.
Dang,
yeah.
that's crazy.
Yeah, it's something that you would definitely see in a movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, this is very interesting. And then we went back downstairs, and I circled around the home, and I was taking pictures, of everything. And went back home, got them developed, right? Because this is when we were using pictures.
Film,
And then,
yeah.
got them developed. And as I was looking through them, I'm like, whoa, there's orbs everywhere.
Wow.
And I was like, I need to get my friend Sage. So I told Sage about it, and we invited our friend Christine. And so it's the 3 of us, and she's, goth too, and very connected in the other realms. So us 3 decided to drive up. So I was like, hey, I'm going to drive by so I can show you guys the home, and then we'll park and then get out. So we did that, and they were just like, oh, okay, yeah, this is real.
Yeah, this is no joke.
Yeah, this is the real deal. So we get out, and we go up to the home, and night is starting to fall, and I'm like, oh my gosh, why is it getting dark so quickly?
Yeah.
I was like, this is not my plan. And
you didn't want to be there at night.
No.
And the first time it wasn't night? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was during the daytime.
Yeah, nighttime it definitely takes it to the next level.
Yeah. And so we're like looking around the house and all that stuff, but then we decided to leave. We're like, yeah, we'll come back here again.
Mm-hmm.
So we kept coming back to this house like multiple times. The next time we came back was with some of my guy friends that were there the first time. And so we went with them, and they're just like messing around. They're just like, oh yeah, boo, ah, like doing funny stuff.
Yeah.
But we were being serious, and then we went up the stairs to the 3rd floor to the attic, and we're just like looking around. We're just observing everything, and then night was falling again, and we're like, are you serious? And then right when night fell, we heard footsteps coming up the stairs. It was like,
oh boy.
Like very heavy footsteps.
Yeah.
And going very slow like that too.
Jeez.
We all looked at each other and we were like, oh shit. The only way down is to go down the stairs.
Yeah.
And so we all looked at each other and we're like, run!
Yeah.
And so we're all running down the stairs. Nothing's there.
Yeah.
There's no other human, right? We're like running. We're like, ah! And we ran out the house as fast as we could out onto the street.
Yeah.
And then we were all on the street. We're like out of breath. We're like, And we looked at each other, and then all of a sudden we heard a loud scream. It sounded like a little child scream. It was like, ah! And then light from the attic. We all know how there was light in the attic because there's no electricity, nothing. And it just went poof, and then off.
Oh, God.
And we're just like, run! And then we ran to our car, and we just left.
And it's dark by this time.
Yeah, it's dark.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And my friends that were there in the first place, they were like, we're not going there anymore. And I told Sage and Christine, I was like, we need to go here. Something's going on. And I'm the type of person that likes to help spirits out, you know, and I'm like, we need to go here. So we got our materials. Like Sage brought like a metal knife, you know, like all these things.
What does that do?
I'll explain. So when we got there, Christine started wandering off. She went to like the second or third floor.
By herself?
Yeah, by herself.
And it's daytime.
Yeah, it's daytime still. Me and Sage, we stayed downstairs, and Sage just pulls out his knife, his dagger, right? I didn't know he was going to do this. And he like stabbed it onto the wooden floor. And I was like, okay. I was like, a little heads up would be nice. I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, and then all of a sudden he just fell on his knees and his head went down. And I'm like, Sage, are you okay? Sage. And he's not answering me. And all of a sudden he just like starts whimpering. And I'm like, Sage? Hello?
Yeah.
And then it hit me. I'm like, this is not Sage anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, what's your name? And it's just like, and I'm like, okay. What's wrong? Why are you crying? You know, and it was like this little tiny voice. It's like, I met my mommy. And I'm like, where's your mom? He's like, Daddy took her. And I'm like, oh shit. You know, I'm like, and this voice, Sage could not make this type of voice.
Right.
And I'm like, oh my God, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, just stay calm, just be, you know, hold space for this soul, right? So I'm like holding space, and I'm like, okay, everything's okay, everything will be okay. And then all of a sudden, Sage snapped out of it, but the way he snapped out of it was like, he got thrown back.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Sage, and he's like pale white, more pale than a goth person. Like he was like drenched in sweat, and he was like, and I was like, Sage, are you okay? Do you know what happened? He's like, what? And then so I told him the whole story, and he's like, oh my gosh. And then as he got his bearings straight and he's like able to stand up again, he took his dagger, and we're like, we need to find Christine.
So what did the dagger do? Like, did he explain that?
The dagger helps connect to the spirit realm. And so what he was doing was helping connect to that area. So it's something about the metal, like just the the characteristics of metal, and then stabbing it into the wood, making that connection with that home. And then it's able to like connect that spirit to the metal or something, and then he got possessed.
Oh wow.
Right?
That's far out.
I don't know the science behind it. I would have to look through those magic books again. But I have heard of other people using metal or like, you know, some type of dagger to do those certain seances, right? Something about the elements. But yeah, so we were like, we need to find Christine. So throughout this whole time, Christine's still gone.
Yeah.
She's still by herself.
Yeah.
And then night is falling again, and we're like, oh, damn it. You
Yeah.
know? So we find Christine. We're like, Christine, we gotta go. It's time to go. And so we left, and we're in the car. I'm driving. Sage is in the passenger seat. Christine's in the back seat, but she's not behind me. She's behind Sage.
Okay.
So I'm driving them home.
So nothing else happened.
Well, nothing else happened inside the home.
Okay.
In that home. But as I'm driving back home, we're all quiet because we're just like, what the fuck So we're all quiet, and all of a sudden I get a tap on my left shoulder, and it was like ding, 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 and I was like, Christine, did you tap me? And I look back at her, and she's just like this,
like passing out.
Yeah, like like she's like, yeah, like her energy's drained.
Yeah.
And I was like, someone just tapped me, but on my left shoulder. There's no one sitting behind me.
Yeah.
How did this happen? And Sage just like, wait, what? And I was like, someone just tapped me on my left shoulder. I am not joking. I'm not, hallucinating, nothing. And he's like, I don't know. And I was like, I don't know. And Christine's like, I didn't do anything. So I took them both home. I went home, and then I get a phone call from Christine and Sage. And Sage was like, you need to hear what Christine has to say. I was like, oh God, what? And Christine's like, something came home with me. And I'm like, oh shit, is that the thing that tapped me on my shoulder? And she's like, I think so. And I was like, we need to all get some sleep, and I can't even imagine how their sleep was, because I'm just like laying in my bed with all my gothic statues around. I have gargoyle statues and black cats and stuff. And I'm just like, oh, how do I sleep? Just sleep, go to sleep, But the next day, we made contact with each other, and we're like, we need to get together soon. And Christine's like, yeah, there's a little boy with me. It's a little boy. And he's been talking to me, and he was able to come home with me because I'm connected to this family somehow. And I was like, family? From that home? And she's like, yes. And I'm like, we need to do some research. So we researched what happened to that home. And what we have gotten is that there was a family, there was a sister, a brother, a mom, and a dad that lived in this home. The dad killed his whole family and then himself. So we were like, okay. And we even went back. So we went back. But before we went back, we went into this village and we knocked on these doors and we're like, hey, can you tell us about this home here? All the people that we knocked on, they would just slam the door on us. They wouldn't even say anything. And we're just like, there's something going on.
Yeah.
They don't want to talk about it, like nothing.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay. I had this feeling. I'm like, we need to just drive by the home first before we park and then walk up. So
you're going back in again?
Yeah, we were going back in again because I'm like, I told Christine, I'm like, you can't just keep this soul here. He needs to go.
The dad or the little boy? The
little boy, yeah.
It sounds like the dad was the one going up the stairs.
Yes. So the dad was going up the stairs to reenact the murder every night. So all these souls were trapped, including the dad. They were trapped inside this home. Because of what had happened. So the dad goes upstairs at nighttime, reenacts every murder. And that's why we heard the little boy, like that little scream, right? We found it was the little boy. And so the little boy would tell Christine, I don't want to go back to the house. I don't want to go back to the house. And as we're driving back, like he's scratching her arm and she would show us her arm and we would see these scratches like going on her. And I would tell the boy, I'm like, no, we need to go. Don't worry, we'll figure something out,
Yeah.
It was very intense for all of us, including the spirits.
Yeah.
And yeah, so what we found out is that the dad will go upstairs, kill everyone. Every single night this would happen. Every single night. They were all trapped in there. And then I had this feeling, so that when we're coming back, I had this feeling, I need to just drive by so we can see the home again. So driving by really slowly. And then we looked, and the home is on the ground. And then there's these signs posted everywhere. Arsenal arrest, wanted, find this person who burned down the home or whatever.
Oh, it's burnt down.
Yeah, but you could still see there's like, the toilet is still like mashed up. Like you could still see like little pieces of wood and things like that. It wasn't all in ashes, but there was some burnt places, but then it just collapsed. And as I crept up, Christine went crazy. She's like, ah! And like ran out my car and to the home. And me and Sage looked at each other. We're like, park the car. So I went back around, parked the car, and then we both ran out of the car, and we're running up to the house, and we're like, Christine, Christine, Christine. And then we find her, and she's like in this rubble of mess of like the home, and she's just like throwing all these pieces around, just screaming at the top of her lungs. And then as we got to her, then she fell, like she was just like, ugh. Like something like left her body, right? And then she starts crying, and she's like, the boy left. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm hearing he was able to leave because he found his mom and his family, because they're not trapped inside the home because the home is no longer. So they were free.
Oh yeah.
And then we were like, we have no other business.
We're done here.
Yeah, we're done.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like this huge relief.
Yeah.
And we felt lighter, but at the same time, all of these different emotions.
Yeah.
And we were just like, wow, because it felt like we lived with that family, you know, like we experienced all of their emotions and what they went through.
Wow.
And then to like help them finally, even though it wasn't our doing of burning down the house, but going back there and just, yeah, and witnessing their freedom was just like, whoa.
Wow, that's so crazy.
But yeah, that was the story.
Wow. Yeah, that's far out. That's far out. Yeah, I mean, it made me, while you were sharing that, it made me think about in high school, my friends were real explorers, you know, they would like to, you know, we're just trying to see what's available to do around. And they had this brilliant idea to go into Newark, New Jersey and go to an abandoned insane asylum.
Oh, fun.
And we had like, there was just, it's like, it's all signs like do not enter and stuff. And,
yeah.
But there's nobody in there. And there's just one little door that like is boarded up, but there's a way around it. And so we went in and like, there's all these old like glass jars with pills in them still. And like,
oh, wow.
These cages. Yeah, we went through like several floors, but same thing. Like there was just all these energies there, and I could feel it. And like my friends there was like probably 6 or 7 of us, and one of my friends like trying to jump out. I'm like, no, stop it, dude. But like I didn't receive any messages or anything like that. But it was still like that really dense, you know, energy. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So it's tough to be in that space. Yeah. And, you know, it makes me think about like what you were saying like a little bit ago about how, sometimes you'll feel like some sort of cord attach or something, right? Like when you're just, even though you have your protection up, I've had that happen a few times. But I still don't really know what's going on, because normally it happens at like airports or like places where there's just tons and tons of people and traffic all the time. Because it doesn't happen on a regular basis, and it doesn't happen just going to the grocery store. You know, it's like it happened at the airport. That was the last time, and I just like feel this like energy, and it just kind of like knocks me back a little bit, you know, and I'm like, I have a hard time like, whoa, I have a hard time like grounding back in afterwards. And I'm not sure. I mean, that's why it's so important to have that energetic hygiene every day, you know, to like really clear out. And what starts happening for me is I start like spitting, or I'll start burping, or starting to try to clear the energy.
Yeah. And
then, that's how it starts to release and be removed. And then I can get whatever it is when there's that stillness, right? Like either with meditation or because I believe the body has ways of bringing back to harmony, you know, once we allow it to unwind and release all of that, you know? Mm-hmm. And I've actually seen it where it's like actual hooks.
Yes.
where like there's like claws that are like wrapped up in my myofascia in my body. And so when I was doing the myofascial unwinding, my body would start to move in ways where it was unwinding all that. And then I would have an experience, sometimes usually a traumatic experience that I had blocked out, and then I'll replay that in my mind. And then there's only been like 3 or 4, right, that I'd blocked, that were enough to get blocked out. Like one of them, I was making these movements like above my head, like I was swimming. And the memory came back while I was doing those movements of like this little boy, when I was a little boy, trying to drown me. And I don't know if he was actually trying to, or if it was just my experience of it, but he was like pushing me down, you know? And so I had to rewire that in my mind and then in my body too, to be like, he was 9 years old. He was probably going through some stuff with his family, and he didn't really, you know, he was trying to just figure it out, like how to, you know, release this energy that he was moving through. And so I found this deep forgiveness for this little 9-year-old. And then I was able to reintegrate it and no longer have to block out that memory, you know?
Yes.
So I think that's a really, like, I would say a smaller T trauma, right? Like there's capital T trauma, and this is lowercase t trauma, but it works for any type of trauma. You know, there's like, there's a way to reintegrate it no matter, you know, what happened. So,
Yes.
And that's where the real deep integration and work is, you know?
Yeah.
And that's that shadow work that you were talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. It's not easy.
Yeah. Yeah, but there's a real massive liberation on the other side of that. There's just this like, oh, I can breathe again. I can release that off my back or off my whatever part of the body was holding it. And then that program or that cycle gets to be terminated. And then the body will adjust. And a lot of times the body can really show us a lot where we're holding it, you know? And with myofascial unwinding, for example, the body will literally light up, either red or it will start tingling for the patient. And that's where the energy's being held. And then once that's released and integrated, then another part will light up, or it'll just show the practitioner where to go next to it. And then that can result in like an exorcism text, you know, where it's like the body is unwinding this cord or physical attachment of these hooks into the body, into the energetic body, and then it can release. The last topic I wanted to cover, because we're getting close to completion, but I wanted to ask you about this. What do you think about items that carry certain energies? So like I had a wallet from middle school that I hadn't touched in probably 15 years. And I was going through my stuff in Pennsylvania, and I touched this wallet, and like immediately I went into like oh wow, there's some crazy energy on that. And I went and laid down and closed my eyes and tried to meditate and figure out what was happening. And I saw these like white claws with like blood dripping off of them. And I was like, something really negative, like trying to like attach. And so I went into that unconditional love state, and then eventually it went away and couldn't attach. And I sent it to the light. But what are your thoughts about like things like that? Because, you know, thrifting's such a big thing now. I love thrifting, but sometimes I'll just go in and be like, whoa, there's definitely some energy on some of these items, you know?
Yes, definitely. It's funny because I was going to bring up thrifting when you were saying all these things.
Yeah.
Yes. So when I do home and land clearings for clients or just, in general. You can say like that home story was like a home and land clearing, but it's not just doing the home and the land and seeing the portals and what entities are here and there, but it's also looking into the objects as well. So say for instance, a client bought moved into a home. It's not new, there are previous owners. And they start experiencing all of these, paranormal activity and things like that. And then they're like, "Can you do a home and land clearing here?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And say like, they bought the furniture, with it and all of those things. So I would do the home and land clearing. I'm like, okay, there's portals here, vortexes, they're bringing in some not so great things that don't resonate with you. There's energetic imprints, there's memory imprints, all of those things. But then I would look into the furniture. I would look into the objects that are there. I would look into, like all of that, into the walls and the corners, everything. Because all those objects, including, the furniture, they hold memory.
Yeah.
They hold energies. So say if someone gives you a gift, it can hold that person's energies.
Yeah.
So yes, you can receive and you can thrift, even if it has like all these energies in there.
It's clearable.
You can definitely clear them. But you just have to be aware.
Right. Yeah.
And make sure it doesn't attach onto you, right?
Right.
Like, hey, I would like to purchase you this object, but I'm going to clear it and, deal with whatever, needs to be dealt with. And, even these objects can have portals onto them as well. They can act as a portal. So just being more mindful of, what is it that it has? Yeah.
Yeah. And for me, it's like, I don't need to know what it is. I could just feel it and just be like, okay, it needs to be cleared.
Yeah.
And there's so many ways of clearing. You can use sage, you can use Reiki, you can use intention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Intention's very strong. And it's
crystals.
accessible to everyone. Yeah.
Yeah. Different smokes, frankincense, myrrh, they use those in the church. That's a common one. Copal, Palo Santo. There's a lot of.
You can put it beside a selenite as well.
Yeah.
You can also change is like say if you want to know what it is, you can change the portal so that it does. You can change the frequency of the portal so that it can let the high benevolent beings come in and out, or whatever that resonates with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do so many things.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. And also, if you go thrifting or receive gifts from someone, or you find something outside or anywhere, sometimes those things serve your highest good.
Yeah. Yeah. I found washing works really well too.
Yes.
Like just the washing machine, I feel like it clears the energy. I think it's the water and the circulation and the vortex that, a washing machine is. I think it just clears it all out.
Yep.
So man, you were going to say something?
Oh yeah. Sometimes I go to thrift stores so I can do energetic exchanges. So sometimes I'm guided to go to these stores and touch certain objects so I can receive whatever energies I need to receive from that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's next level. That's next level. Yeah, because there's certain maybe activations or energies that like maybe that belong to a millionaire and you're trying to connect to that abundance, right? Or like it there can be really positive experiences from that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And if you help spirits, sometimes there are consciousness or fragments trapped in these objects too. Then you would touch them and be like, okay, collect all of these consciousness, fragments, trapped spirits, and then take them to where they need to go to.
Yeah. That's some big work right there for sure. Well, it's been so awesome having you on, Tracy. I've had this has been a portal itself. So you have your own podcast, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's the name of it?
The Empowered Podcast.
Okay, The Empowered Podcast. Yes, you have to include the in front of it. And we'll drop any links to your podcast or your website or anything like that. And then how can people find you if they want to work with you?
Yeah, you can go on my website, which is AuraCrown, AuraKrown.com, or you can find me on Instagram at AuraCrown or at Tracy Nova.
Okay, beautiful. Yeah. And we'll drop all those links underneath in the description. And man, this has been awesome. And I'm really I feel like we could have talked for many hours more. So you're welcome back on the podcast anytime. And it's been such an honor having you on. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Until next time.